All right, everybody, happy Monday. Good to see you back. Today we are going to finish up that Think Rich close reading strategy to finish up analyzing the medicine bag. So if you look, our tasks today are to obviously participate in the live lesson or through this video that you're watching. We're going to reread and annotate the medicine bag using the Savvis platform, and then we're going to finish the last section of that Think Rich graphic organizer. So what I'm going to have you guys do is listen to the last part of our Think Rich presentation so that you know what we're expected to do for the last half of this graphic organizer, and it's going to guide our thinking when it comes to annotating. So we had talked previously about rich being more than just, having a lot of money. It's more about value. So when we're, thinking rich, we want to broaden and deepen our understanding. So when you read the text again, this time when you're reading, you really want to get the gist of it. So what's that main idea? Before you were just looking for vocab and trying to activate your background knowledge. Now we really want to dive deeper and think about what the main idea is. We want to identify any important ideas that will come with the annotating. What interesting points does that text make? Obviously, we're going to create more questions and connections as we're reading, as we're annotating. And then we're going to extend our thinking by answering those questions. So you guys already had a chance before to ask some questions, like what is this going to be about, so on and so forth. Now we're going to really dive in and try to think of some deeper level questions. So as I had said, we're reading the text again. We're thinking about what the main idea is. Before you had looked at vocabulary, looked at different questions that you have, looked at, the title. How is this all relating? And now let's put into a sentence what that main idea is. Whenever we're going and looking through those important ideas, we want to highlight the text, underline the text, circle the text, especially those interesting points. Once we've, tried to figure out the main idea, or we're starting to understand the main idea, those supporting details are obviously going to help lead us closer and deeper to it. When you guys are reading the second time, things are going to jump out to you that didn't before. You might have even new questions. Remember before, you just jotted down like 2. You're going to have probably way more than that, and they might not be those surface level questions. They might be, something that the text can answer. And then obviously, what connections can you make to discussions that we've had, other texts that you've read, so on and so forth. So this is where you really, really start thinking. And then obviously, no matter what we're doing, we're going to try to connect what we're learning to our learning target, or what we're reading to our learning target. With the how can I extend my thinking, you want to make sure that you answer those questions and then talk about what surprised you. We're going that extra step to make sure that we really understand the text. And then originally you had questions in the very beginning, during your first read. Has this changed anything? Did this change any of your predictions? Did it confirm any of your predictions? You guys looked at pictures and thought, this must be about Native Americans. Did it confirm it? Did it not confirm it? So on and so forth. So let's go ahead and try this using the medicine bag. What we have realized is that Savvis works best not through the Clever app, but through Safari. So what I've done is I've opened up Pearson or Savvis, on Safari. I'm going to go ahead into my classes. Here's the medicine bag. Oops. Let me get it to pop up like it should for you guys. Remember, it might take a few minutes. It's okay. Technology's fluky. Just give it a second to think. What I'm going to do is go through the first few paragraphs and model for you how you should be annotating. And then I am going to again, show you where to find your Think Rich graphic organizer in Savvas so that you can complete it. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember, we already looked at the title. We've looked at the different pictures that are in the text. And, we've started looking at the vocabulary. We know that any content vocabulary is highlighted blue, and it's really important to note and to define because it will help us understand the text. What I'm going to do is hide this so I have the most room to work, and I'm going to start. Grandpa wasn't tall and stately like TV Indians. His hair wasn't in braids. It hung in stringy gray strands on his neck, and he was old. He was my great-grandfather, and he didn't live in a teepee. He lived all by himself in a part log, part tar paper shack on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. So right off the bat, we get a description of Grandpa. And if I was thinking back to the launch text, remember we were talking about characterization being important in nonfiction narrative. So I'm actually going to highlight the first few sentences. I'm going to say that this is a physical description of Grandpa. Now, that's kind of obvious. Remember, we're thinking rich. We want to dive deeper into this. So what does it tell us? Well, the first sentence really stands out because it says, Grandpa wasn't tall and stately like TV Indians. So if I'm thinking about, what a stereotypical Indian looks like, I'm thinking a big, tall man with like a animal skin sarong with, feathers in his hair, a headdress, so on and so forth, super tan. And this description's a little bit different. His hair wasn't in braids. It hung in stringy gray strands on his neck, and he was old. So right off the bat, within the first couple sentences, Martin's letting us know that his grandfather doesn't match the stereotypical, picture of an Indian. So I'm going to say, why does Martin immediately let us know that his grandfather isn't like TV Indians? Why does that matter? My kid sister Cheryl and I always bragged about our Lakota grandpa, Joe Iron Shell. So I'm going to highlight that. Because in my mind, that proves that Martin and his sister are proud of their grandfather. If they're bragging about him, then they must be proud. Our fathers, who had always lived in the city and only knew about Indians from movies and TV, were impressed by our stories. Maybe we exaggerated and exaggerated and made Grandpa on the reservation sound glamorous, but when we returned home to Iowa after our yearly summer visit to Grandpa, we always had some exciting tale to tell. Now I am going to highlight this. Because before I was saying, why did he lie about the way that his grandfather looked? Okay? When he's bragging down here, why did he exaggerate the way his grandfather looked? Is it because he didn't look like the TV Indians? Remember, before he said he didn't look like a TV Indians. Is this why he's exaggerating? We usually had some authentic Lakota article to show our listeners. One year, Cheryl had new moccasins. I hit that footnote. Those are those soft shoes traditionally made from animal hide that Grandpa had made. On another visit, he gave me a small, round, flat, rawhide drum decorated with a painting of a warrior riding a horse. He taught me a Lakota chant to sing while I beat the drum with a leather-covered stick that had a feather on the end. Man, that really made an impression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this part right here. And this sticks out to me because Martin and his sister truly appreciate their Indian heritage because they are bragging about their gifts, and it shows they really like them. Can't type this morning. Alright, save. We never showed our friend Grandpa's picture. Ooh, red flag. Red flag. If they loved Grandpa so much, why didn't they something on my keyboard show his picture? Again, that same question keeps popping up. Now, not that we were ashamed of him, but because we knew the glamorous tales we told didn't go with the real thing. Our friends would have laughed, so when Grandpa came to visit us, I was so ashamed and embarrassed I could have died. Oh my goodness, there's the answer to our question. So he says, our friends would have laughed, so when Grandpa came to visit us, I was so ashamed and embarrassed I could have died. Why would they be friends with people who would make fun of their grandparents? Has this happened before? Did they really know that they would actually laugh? There are a lot of Yippy poodles and other fancy little dogs in our neighborhood, but they usually barked singingly at the mailman from the safety of their own yards. Now it sounded as if a whole pack of mutts were barking together in one place. I walked to the curb to see what the commotion was. About a block away I saw a crowd of little kids yelling, and the dogs yipping and growling around someone who was walking down the middle of the street. I watched the group as it slowly came closer and saw that in the center of the strange procession was a man wearing a tall black hat. He paused now and then to peer at something in his hand and then at the houses on either side of the street. I felt cold and hot at the same time. I recognized the man. "Oh no," I whispered. "It's Grandpa." Now right here, I'm going to highlight this where it says I felt cold and hot at the same time. I can make a connection with that. And if you think back to our Think Rich, you want to make connections with the text. Usually, I feel this way when I am embarrassed. So when I feel cold and hot at the same time, it's like that clammy feeling. That's when I'm really embarrassed. Martin must be embarrassed by his grandfather already. The poor man hasn't even gotten to him yet. He's just walking down the street. He's already embarrassed. I stood on the curb, unable to move, even though I wanted to run and hide. Then I got mad when I saw how the Yippy dogs were growling and nipping at the old man's baggy pant legs, and how wearily he poked them away with his cane. "Stupid mutts," I said as I ran to rescue Grandpa. Now remember, wearily is one of our content vocab words. So I'm going to click it, and it says tiredly, okay? And it actually pronounces it for you as well.
Wearily. Adverb. Tiredly.
So obviously, Grandpa seems pretty tired. So what I'm going to do is highlight how wearily he poked him away with his cane. Because this is revealing to me how tired Grandpa is. Good. So you guys are going to go through the rest of the text and continue asking questions and finding information out about, this text. Please make sure, again, for Savas that you're using Safari. You're not using the Clever app. Log in through Clever through Safari. That'll make it work a lot better. So, last but not least, I'm going to show you, remember you're finishing this text, and then to prove to me that you got it, After you're finished with the text, you are going to fill out your graphic organizer. Now, your graphic organizer, again, is in Schoology. So it is not listed under today because I didn't want to have you open up or reopen up another document and not get credit for what you did last week. So I am going to have you go back to our homepage. You're going to go to the What Did I Miss? Week of 9/14, and it's under Thursday, okay? You'll go to the Think Rich, My Document. You'll click Edit. Remember, it'll pop up. We were supposed to have finished this before, but our friend hasn't quite gotten to it yet. And then remember, you can type right in the document. Whoop. So when it says, what is the main idea? You'll answer right here. For what supporting details are included, you can bullet your responses. So if you want to back over to the side, you can bullet some important, pieces that you annotate. What are the most important points that the text makes? Right off the bat, I can say, Martin is very embarrassed of his grandfather. That's a main point right there. And then what questions do you have? Obviously that you guys can jot down some of your questions, and then obviously it's our goal to try to answer those questions that you have right there, okay? So when you are finished, all you'll do is click Exit and then Submit. Now I'm not going to submit size because he's not done, okay? But obviously, remember, edit, type, exit out, and then submit, and then you'll be able to get credit. This is going into the gradebook, so please forward me any questions that you have. Remember, again, log into Clever through Safari, not the app. Savvis does not work in the Clever app. All right, I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow.